So tell me, how's work?
It's all right. It's all right. Hopefully, we're going to be back next week.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we're going to start training next week. So we're just waiting for final confirmation. But yeah, it's been a long 3 months.
Is it?
It was mid March. We went up to Loughborough for a training session,
Yeah.
and then just after that, everything got canned. So I think the
Mm.
boys are itching to get back. Obviously, we've lost a hell of a lot of the season, but we can still have a couple months, hopefully. So as long as fingers crossed, everything goes well, and with the virus and everything like that. So.
And how's the mental health of these players? Obviously, them being professional cricketers, they're probably so used to being out at this time of the year, and they probably look forward to it all winter, don't they? And now they're stuck at
Yeah.
home and probably not getting the same amount of freedom. So how are they coping? How's their mental health?
I think they're going okay. We've got a sports psych who they've got access to all the time, and they've had access to Benny, the physio,
Yeah.
Giddo, the head coach.
Yep.
The PCA have always got people on hand for him as well.
Yeah.
So they've got quite a lot of support. But obviously, it's always going to be very, very strange because it's a unprecedented thing which has happened. So yeah, I think everyone's going to be looking forward to getting back to normal.
Okay. And how do you keep a track of the professional cricketers that you work with? Is it a daily thing that you check up on? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Do you set them goals? Are there targets that they have to try and achieve? And how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so basically we use an app where we can put all their programs into. So everyone's got their own program, and then it's on their phone,
Okay.
and we can track them through that way. But obviously with furloughing, it's up to the individual. I put a program in place before everything happened.
Yeah.
And so they've got it at their fingertips. And then when they're back, we'll just track where they are.
Yeah.
Maybe a 2K time, a 20-meter sprint time, a broad jump, see where their weight is. Just things like that. Obviously, we can't go as in depth as we normally do in
No.
pre-season in March, but just sort of pick sort of 8 to 10 little markers between the physio and myself to see what we can get a good handle on where they are.
Okay, excellent. That's fair enough. Yeah. So to the build-up of this live Zoom call, I've been getting some questions as well in advance, and I think some people might not be able to make it, hence why I might be working or whatever. So I might just crack on with some of the questions.
Yeah.
One of the most common questions that I get is, how do I improve my throwing arm if I'm in the field? So you get the guys who are probably fielding on the boundary, and the most common question they ask me is, okay, how do I fix this issue?
Basically, with the throwing arm, you have to look at the chain because a lot of people just throw from the shoulder,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's where they get issues.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at the chain all the way up from that when the front foot hits the floor,
Yeah.
to it transferring up through the hips, hip shoulder separation, and out throwing through the arm. So a little bit like some of the bowling technique if you're looking at a knee dom bowler or something like that. But so you're actually going up, and what I almost say is the shoulder and the arms, the vessel that finishes it off. But the main power comes through the body and the kinetic chain. So that's always the first protocol. And then if you're looking at the shoulder, just got to make sure the thoracic's moving as it should. Scapula's working, nice upward rotation, and that whole interplay across the sort of the chest and the upper back is working into the shoulder rather than just going. You see people just getting bands and doing external rotations for ages. You know, the rotator cuff's quite they're four muscles and they're four small muscles, and their primary use is decelerating the arm.
Yeah.
So if we're doing all sort of bodybuilding moves on it, we're not going to help it. So we need to understand what the shoulder does, how we can help it. But the biggest thing is make sure we're working the chain.
Yeah, I see a lot of guys that got like rounded scapulas, and they rather than working on the scapula, they just think it's more to do with the forearm, or they just think it's to do with the rotator cuff. So, I mean, there is a lot more into that. And I think when they try to throw as well, like you quite rightly said, they don't probably understand the kinetic chain. They don't realize that the energy starts from the bottom upwards. I think that's where a lot of them actually miss out on. When you talk about strengthening tendons for the rotator cuff or for the shoulder area, what tendons would you recommend that they try to actually work on?
Well, all four sort of muscles around the rotator cuff is what you want to go for, but you need to sort of work them in that sort of deceleration mode.
Okay.
Whether it be catching at end range, or holding a band, letting go and catching that again. Almost a reactive work, which it needs, rather than there is a place for sometimes you're doing some external rotation, things like that. But you need to understand, is it external rotation or internal rotation your big issue, and look around the sort of area. And one thing you've got to be really careful of is barbell pressing above head. dumbbell pressing above head,
Yep.
and just be really smart and understand the mechanics of actually what's happening in the shoulder, in the compression forces you could be putting in, not just the shoulder, but the lower back as well.
Yeah,
Because you see a lot of people pushing up and the lower back's going into extension.
yeah,
And if
that's
you're
right.
a bowler and you're already into extension, it's something, we need to try and stop or actually control.
Exactly. When you just mentioned something which is quite important, we talked about the overhead press. At what stage do you start to use the overhead press?
To be honest, I don't use a shoulder press or a bar press at all. What I do is I use things like a kettlebell, up press. So
up there.
So only a 4K.
Yeah.
But you put it up, then the grip's got to work, and you actually have to react to what's happening. And like we said earlier, reaction is a lot better for the shoulder than actually just grunting it up. When we're talking about fast bowling, in cricket, so something like that, and then you can get up and you can press and you can turn. And what that turn does is allows the scapula to work in the plane. So if you see where the hand sort of starts, and where it stops, so it's not just going up and down in a straight line. So things like that, I like a lateral press sort of variation as well. And then you can get the sort of arms working above the head, holding a medicine ball while you're doing things like sprint mechanics for the lower body.
That's right,
just so the body can get used to sort of when the arms above head and the co-contractions which happen below. Additional sort of bodybuilding type shoulder work, I just stay away from that.
Okay. Guys, I know there's quite a few of you come and join online, so don't be shy. You can ask your questions. I think that we've got a couple of questions coming through already. So we've got one from Zubair. Zubair is one of my clients. He's a professional boxer, super fit dude. So what he's asking is, what's a good 2K run for a batter? I don't really think it makes a difference for a batter, does it? Same with the bowler, right?
Just what we look at really is under 7 minutes 30. If we're getting under 7 minutes 30, we're happy. If we're getting down towards 7 and under, we're very happy. Okay. So anything over 8, you're in the bad books basically. So around 7:30, 7:30 and below is good. But if he's a boxer, again, we talked about the kinetic chain. It's the same for boxing, it's the same for golf, it's the same for batting, same for baseball. Get that kinetic chain working as a boxer and get that power in the punches.
Yeah, definitely. He could definitely pack a punch. I had a session with him yesterday, and he was in it all over the park. And all he was doing was just snapping his hips. He did it by mistake, but he did it well.
That's where the power is, the hips.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we worked on. Okay, so moving on to the next topic, we'll probably talk a little bit about fast bowling. So I know with a lot of work that you do, you work with a pyramid chain. So what do we start off with? So the guys who are listening here, I can see from a lot of these guys that I work with, they're probably fed up listening to me. So how about they listen to you? So give them a go. How do they start off with? Where do they start off from? They've been off for 3 months. They get them back into cricket. What's the best thing to do?
The first thing for me, we always start off is what's the movement like? So, we got to a stage now we can assess it in 5 minutes, but just sort of from the bottom to up. So ankles, are their ankles moving as they should? Have they got enough dorsiflexion range? Hip internal rotation, have they got that? Have they got thoracic mobility, both from rotation and extension? And then you look at the control element around the trunk, the glutes, the knees, all that sort of thing. So, whether you've had 3 months off or you're 13-year-old coming straight into it, that's what I would do all the time. So you know where you are, you know where you're starting, because a lot can happen in 3 months. You could have had someone, sat on the sofa for 3 months, not doing much, on their phone, and they're good, and so they've lost thoracic movement. Their hip internal rotation's not what it should be. So I always like to start off by understanding exactly where the person is, and from there you can make a plan. After that, you need to, if you're talking about fast bowling, if you've got some footage of them bowling, you can put that with the assessment, okay? And what we often see is myself and Steph do a thing called virtual coach, where we have the assessment and we have the bowling, and the dysfunctions carry over. So you could have a knee dom who's really struggling with hip internal rotation to actually get that hip pre-turn.
Yep, that's right.
And then you go back, and what we want from hip internal rotation is 40 degrees.
Yes. And
then they do the assessment and they're at 20. So it's like, right, okay. But the goal is not to just go and tear the arse out of the hip internal rotation, getting bands and pulling it and stretching it, which people do.
Yeah.
It's then just unpicking it and find out what's going on, which is where the assessment comes in. Because
Exactly.
then you can look at hip internal rotations at 20, and then they can't do glute bridges, and they can't do a plank for so long. And so you can see that they haven't got the stability to
Yeah.
allow the mobility to happen. So it's going in and assessing them and getting that right. And then what you can do again is work sort of with the fascial system as well,
Yeah,
which
that's right.
fascia basically encompasses the muscles, and it allows co-contraction, which is what happens a lot with the bowling. And you can prep that without doing all the weights. And then sort of the weights is a little bit further down the line. Once you've got movement, once you've been working the fascia, once you're getting into the patterns you want to see,
Yeah.
then we can start adding some strength to help stabilize and help the robustness and resilience. And we can work on sprint technique, landing mechanics, everything like that. But the key thing is remembering the goal is to be if it's a fast bowler, the goal is to bowl faster, and doing everything to help that, rather than still seeing everyone just doing the bog standard gym work.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not transferring. You look what Steph talks about, the contact times with the feet, from back foot to front foot. They're too quick. When you're looking at traditional strength training, even Olympic lifts don't compare. So we need to be getting in and getting specific.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good, mate. Yeah, I think that's so I feel okay because I've been trying to get into that as well. One thing I have found is that when I have got into it, because they've been out of action for 3 months, there's been a little bit of soreness, the next day or a couple of days. So what would you recommend? Would you then say to that particular client that carry on, do the same thing again? For me, it was more about icing it, recovery, and then when you're ready to get up and go, then we can carry on. So what would you say there would be the best thing for them to do after a few days if they're still sore? Did you think there's an alarm bell ringing there to say, oh, there's something might be in the way, there might be a roadblock, or do you think it's just normal when that happens?
Well, I think if you've had 3 months not doing something and you come back into it, you're going to be sore.
Yeah.
And you got to be smart with it. So you don't want to come back in like a bull in a china shop and try to lift really heavy weights or go and bowl for an hour and stuff like that, because you're going to hurt yourself. But it's also understanding the difference between muscle tenderness and sort of the DOMs or an actual injury.
Yes.
I think most people do understand that, the way you've done your first leg session in a while and you can't walk down the stairs, or you go to the toilet and you can't get back up. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's not understanding that, but it's taking care of the session that you're prepping right.
Yeah.
You're doing your whole S-ramp, what we call it, sort of to warm up and get ready, or the potentiation, everything like that.
Yeah.
But also taking care of recovery. Once you finish your session, what you're doing then, and that's not finishing the session and doing static stretching. That's hopefully most people have put that, in the back burner where it belongs, because it's not helping. You're wearing compression. Are you doing your hot cold baths?
Yeah.
Nutrition, are you on top of that? Are you hydrated enough? Fascia is, I think, 70-80% water. And so if you're dehydrated, you're going to have issues there. You're getting your zinc, magnesium. Are you getting your vitamin A, your vitamin C, your vitamin K, vitamin D, all these sorts of things, So it's looking around it. And then the other things that can help on top of that are like vibration platforms, things like that. Yeah. Some of the vibration kits, the therapy guns, the therapy balls,
that's right.
All that sort of stuff. So just understanding how to actually help the body. And even like the hot, cold baths, you don't have to have a freezing cold bath, just like a 10 degrees. So just your cold tap.
Yeah.
Jump from there to a warm shower 3 or 4 times, just help the blood flow. But the compression sort of tights, compression shorts, things like that are massive for me for helping soreness.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I think that is something that will definitely help recovery. I think compression, decompression. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions that just come through. The first question is asking by a UAE under-19 player. He's asking, what type of exercises should I work on to get better balance to help him actually bat better?
What, in his crease or?
I'm guessing so. It's not actually said. It's just how to get better balance while batting. So I'm guessing in his crease, or probably using his feet. What would you recommend? Probably both. What would you say if he's in his crease, and what would you say if he was to come down the track or maybe go deep in his crease?
To be honest, it's just sort of, obviously that's more of a sort of batting sort of question, but what I would look at is your general agility.
That's what I thought.
So I'd lump that in with sort of turning and acceleration, deceleration, that sort
Yeah.
of thing, where his base of support is and the center of mass. Obviously, the base of support, if you think if someone stood at slip, your base of support would be a box around your feet.
Yeah.
And then if you think of center of mass, maybe your belly button. So that you look straight down, and that center of mass is in the middle of the base of support.
Yeah.
So you're balanced. So I'd look at that, is your stance, are you more towards your left or your right? Have you got any hip issues? So you're not clearing sort of a hurdle step left and right. Something wrong with the gait. So I'd go back to all those sorts of things and clear anything sort of physical out. And then if you're fine physically and you can stand at slip and you've got good balance and everything like that, then work with a good batting coach who can give you the good tips about keeping your head still and things like that. Like we got Kev Sharp at Worcester.
Yeah.
He always talks about keeping still, keeping the head, your eyes level and going forward. But obviously that whole sort of batting area it's a lot better people to talk to than me about those sort of intricacies. I can just sort of tell you about how to help the body, but
exactly.
Julian Wood, sort of the power hitting coach,
Yeah.
People like that get sort of into the area, look at the stuff they do, and that should be able to help.
Okay, cool. And then we talk about a baseball pitcher workout. Would it be helpful in cricket fielding and as a fast bowler?
Yeah, because it works on that kinetic chain again. So the baseball pitchers know that it's that front foot contact and it goes up through the chain, through the arm. So if you see someone and what they're doing with that, then success leaves clues. Yeah. So it's better to do that than just going into the local gym and seeing what they're doing in there, because most of the time that's not going to help.
No, of course, and it's transferable as well, isn't it? Because you are literally working the same muscle group. Another question here I've got is, I'm an all-rounder, I'm a top-order batsman and an attacking bowler. So my question is, how much should I train a day to be fit to perform at my best?
It's not a sort of open, or it's an open-ended question that, it's
on the piece of string.
Where are you in your fitness?
Exactly.
Aerobic capacity good? Are you quick? Is all your movements working well? You're powerful. If you're ticking a lot of the boxes, then you don't need to work as hard as some other people. Are you tendon driven? Are you muscle driven? So there's so many variabilities to say you should be working 3 hours a day, or you need to work twice a week, or stuff like that. So I couldn't give you an answer to that without knowing the individual.
Exactly. Okay, another question is, are you there, Ross?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just lost my screen for a minute. I don't know whether my screen disappeared. Another question is, which is the best sport that transfers to cricket so we can play it?
Okay. So any sort of rotational sport, really. The things we mentioned earlier, with the golf, baseball, boxing, things like that, which have to use the chain and the rotation element. It's still very different, because most of the time they're not coming above the head like bowling is. But if you're a batter and you look for power hitting, and you've got the golf and you've got the even things like tennis with the rotational sort of elements and the feet movement. But still don't think just doing that sport's going to help enormously with cricket. Don't think you can just go and there's a few years back, some coaches wanted to send the players off just to do squash and think that was just going to instantly transfer, There's still different cues and everything. You got the way the ball's coming out of the hand and understanding sort of everything like that. So I'd look at actually training rather than thinking these other sports are gonna definitely help that.
Excellent. Okay, what best exercise for hitting sixes? It's the game, isn't it, nowadays? Nobody wants to know how to hit on the ground. It's the aerial. So what's the best exercises for you recommend?
Again, there's no sort of best exercise. Just make sure that chain's working. You see the people who hit sixes and hit big sixes. Some of them aren't strong players.
No, you're right.
They're timing. For most of it, it's about timing. And again, a name I'll mention again, Julian Wood, the power hitting coach. Go and look at his stuff. He's got some great drills. And it's about as well overloading at the right point. So we do a drill where you overload the bottom of a swing. So we've got sort of a 5-second isometric hold at the bottom. Then you let go and swing through.
Yeah.
It's making sure that it's happening from the lower body.
That's right. Yes.
Through the hips and out the back.
Excellent. Okay. So what's a good workout routine for firstly hip dominant and secondly knee dominant bowlers?
Okay, well, obviously the hip and knee stuff is something that Steph's brought into cricket, and he's pioneered it, and looking into it is fantastic. For hip dom, you're looking at things like skipping, pogo jumps, single leg bounds, anything, all your sprint mechanics, the work that helps you have a quick ground reaction force time. So we're quick all the time and keeping a stiff back leg at contact, things like that to help get through the crease. For a knee dom, like we said, is some of your pre-turn things, making sure that pre-turn's working, making sure you've cleared hip internal rotation, and then getting specific with the medi balls. A lot of the gold lies in the medi ball work, to be honest, and making sure when you're doing it with a purpose, and you're doing it because you're trying to see the transfer from doing it with a medi ball into bowling.
Okay, makes sense. Perfect. Someone's just asked the question, but a baseball pitcher doesn't run, so it's more to do with mass-specific force. And if someone is not bulky, then the mass-specific force is not going to be too much. So what could one do who is not bulky?
So what are they saying? Where's the question? Okay, I got you. It doesn't run. Yeah. So they've not got, basically, they can't rely on momentum and getting through the crease.
That's
so
right.
what the cricketer's got is if you're
that
running,
velocity, isn't it? Yeah.
You're running through the crease, and you've got good pace, and you're using that, obviously, with your good mechanics with the bowling, to get through. So it's not about for fast bowlers being bulky. I can't remember many of the West Indies bowlers being bulky. When they were bowling at 90 mile an hour people's heads.
Yeah.
They were, tendon driven. They were quick through the crease.
Yeah.
They were stiff on back foot contact.
Yeah.
And all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's nothing to do with being bulky at all. Obviously, we want some form of strength to help robustness and resilience.
Yeah.
But we need to be smarter than that.
Okay, cool. Hope that answers your question there, Samad. Right, Tahir has a message. I've always had this problem with throwing balls whenever I try to put in more effort. So whole area from the neck down to the shoulder, it hurts. Is that normal?
No.
Get it checked out, mate. Go see a physician.
You can't keep guessing. Something's going on there. You need to get assessed. If you go to someone and they just assess that area, that's not good enough. You need to say, well, no. I want to know everything here. Not just what's going on the shoulder.
Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere else, because this isn't good enough. I'm getting in pain every time I throw, and pain's not a natural thing. It's your body's warning mechanism to say something's wrong. Exactly. So you need to look into it. Like a car. If something's gone on the engine, they look at everything, not just that little part, and see why has it happened. Exactly. But with the body, we tend not to do it. So, mate, if you're in that much pain, you've got to get it sorted. But
yeah. So, and what exercises should one put on in to strengthen those muscles?
What, around the shoulder?
Yeah. Well, the neck and the shoulder.
Again, if that's where the problem is, we don't know.
No, of course.
So with necks, you can do a lot of isometric work. We do it with the batters, where you can put a band around and it's pulling that way, and you do an isometric hold that way from the front, from the back, and everything like that. But also making sure, doing simple things like bow tie movements, where you go down, up, across, and up. So you're doing a little bow tie, making sure you've got good free movement. But, again, what's just below the neck? You've got your thoracic. Is that moving well? If that's not moving well, and you've got to have extra sort of movement above and the neck, particularly at the top of the cervical spine there, we could have issues. But the whole system into place, so it's getting the right function. And like we do a thing where you can do isometric hold at the neck at the same time you're doing thoracic mobility work, thoracic rotation. So again, you're feeding into what the body wants. So again, it's just being smart and giving it what it wants. If you've got a bad neck and not great shoulders, and you're doing shoulder pressing, you're asking for a lot more pain.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest issue that I face as well, is that when I get clients come into me, it could be a fast bowler or a batsman or someone working on their other sets of skills. They try and massage the hell out of that particular area that could be good, for example, a hamstring. And I'll be like, well, this could be something else. It could be a roadblock. That's why you're getting pain in the hamstring. It could be your lumbar, for example, and like you said, it could be the thoracic. It just hasn't got enough functional movement patterns on there. And yeah, they just want to go to physios, and they'll spend 10 sessions just getting the hamstring massaged, and they say, oh, I don't feel any good. And I need surgery. And it's like, actually, it's not that bad. You just got to be able to understand your body. I think in professional cricket as well, I see a lot of these youngsters that I work with, a lot of them, they want to be professional cricketers, but just like what you and your Steph always say, is that you have to also invest in your bodies. You also have to understand your bodies. You have to understand how your real prototype is, and what your neurotype is. How do you work with it? A lot of these people, unfortunately don't understand that is also an investment as well as your cricketing skills.
And what you got to remember as well is people don't want to listen to you. They'll ask you a question and they hear what you say.
Oh yeah.
But 90% of the time they'll still do what they were doing anyway.
Exactly.
And then a month later, I've still got this problem. Well, of course you have. You're not changing anything. What do you expect? So one of the hardest parts for me, I've done it 21 years now, is separating sort of the personal attachment from it. Where I used to, lose my head. Where if you're giving someone some stuff to do and that's going to work for them, they don't do it and then they come back. I used to be mind blown from it, but now you almost set yourself to think, okay, I can explain what to do.
Yeah.
Especially with strength. People, they cannot get their head round the fact that you say it's not all about strength. It's not all about that. And you say to them, you can get quick and strong without doing your Olympic lifts, without squatting for days, without all the deadlifts, without the bench pressing.
Yeah.
And this thing, they just don't get it, so they'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
And then to get results, say, why is it? It's just read around the subject, or just try something. What was it that Einstein said? It was about, insanity is doing something over and over again, expecting.
That's right. I remember that. Expected results. Yeah. I think also it's it's important. I think the amount of information that's out there as well as what people pick and choose as well. I think a lot. I've been following your work for many years, and I've been a great follower and believer in what you guys do. And it gives it back with science as well. It's not just something that, hey, this is something that which is good for you, give it a go. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm not sure if it's good for me. As a coach, as an SSC coach, as a cricket coach, I try to combine both things together when I'm working, just to help that player get the better out of him. Because you get a lot of these cricketers who come in here and they can't move freely, and then they're not able to hit the ball well, and they say, well, I'm not a good batsman. I'm like, no, well, actually, if you fix your strength and conditioning, if you move your functional movements, if you like you said, work with the kinetic chain and try and work on the thoracic, and you open up that area, suddenly they'll have to have a bit more access to hitting the ball. I think it's just that it is really to do with just, with them getting the right information from the right people. And I think that's where someone like your inner circle really comes handy, something I've been following for years. And a lot of my guys have actually started to, get involved in that. And they, when they come back with some feedback, they're like, wow, we learned something new and I've gone and tried it. And yeah, it might take a little bit longer because it's the correct thing to do. And also we're trying to get rid of bad habits and trying to create new habits. And I think that's where some people who are really committed and who actually, swallow their pride a little and be like, you know what, I think this is going to work for me. I'm going to try this. So hopefully they'll understand that a bit more.
But yeah, and that's a big thing. And it's something that in my profession, which is strength and conditioning, it's almost people are so scared to say something they used to do might not have been right.
Yeah.
Where in my head, it's the other way, saying, Jesus, if I'm still giving you the same program I was giving you 5 years ago, I've not been learning.
You've not been learning, exactly.
Maybe 60% of it's the same.
Yeah.
Because, there's some, good patterns which always will be there.
Yeah.
But if we're not progressing and learning, saying, actually, so we did a strength training for young cricketers program about 6 years ago.
I remember, yeah.
I did a post for the Inner Circle last week to say, I wouldn't give that out now. From what I've learned since then, that's not fit for purpose. So for me, hold your hand up, say, I used to do that, but I've moved on. I wouldn't give that anymore. And that's the way you progress. And same for players. Yeah. What's the point in spending another 6 months doing the same bad program, which has got you nowhere for the previous 6 months?
Yeah.
Put your hand up and say, right, that's not worked. And we're not saying always do our stuff, because, there's bound to be better stuff out there somewhere, but do your research. And there's so many jokers who are sort of pitching up online now, and they're trying to copy some stuff without knowing the fundamentals behind it.
That's right.
Just do your research with people. Look, say, okay, what have they done? Who have they worked with? What success have they had? And do that rather than see, some like an ex-player or someone saying do this or eat
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Completely agree with you.
Fun.
Yeah, I think, when we're in that profession where we are actually either making someone's career successful or we're actually going to completely break them down. So I think information is key. And I know I'm quite cautious of that. And I know I've probably got you on my speed dial as well. I think I'll probably give you a headache more than anybody else. But then that's purely because I just want to make sure that if I'm trying to help somebody, I am actually trying to help them. I'm not there to, like you said, be an ex-cricketer or a player and just be like, hey, whatever I say, it's just going to work. I know that's not always the key. And obviously it helps me develop myself as an S&C coach and helps me, help somebody else. And, you never know what you could do for somebody. Okay, well, that was good. So I've got loads of questions coming in. So Kessa, one of my boys, he's a wicketkeeper. He's just asking for, we've got a question here. What's the best strength exercise for a wicketkeeper and at what frequency?
You want to develop power for a wicketkeeper, but you got to do it all day. So lots of things like learning how to land, so altitude drops,
Eccentric stuff.
yeah, and then depth jumps, power, reaction sort of thing, basic agility. It's that, and frequency again depends on the player, depends on their current program, and like that. But if you're doing sort of some specifics, you want to be doing them probably 3 times a week.
3 times a week. Pretty good. Yeah, I've started to, I saw some of your work that you did recently, and I started to integrate that into my sessions. And the eccentric workouts with vertical jumps and things like that, that's been fantastic. I mean, the guys have been getting some really good feedback, and you start to see when they start doing some, eccentric jumps, landing laterally, jumping sideways. It's been amazing, and then hopefully some, I think for keepers that probably be ideal as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of the stuff we've done is based on a lot of steps work. And we're doing things like French contrast, where you do sort of 4 exercises, in one set, with the last being the skill you want to do.
Yeah.
So for a wicket keeper, it could be something like a sumo deadlift, into skater hops, into med ball catches, into actually depth jump to side catches, something like that. So you're trying to get in and reprogram the brain, create new motor engrams, and get it in there so that the skill is going to be there and improved upon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, it reminds me of a question that someone had for me a couple of days back. He said, I've got flat feet. And I was doing a little bit of work with his running mechanics, and he's got really, really flat feet. And you can see when he's running, his feet are just inside, outside. And obviously when he gets to the crease, he has no stability to be able to bowl. What would you recommend for somebody who's got flat feet? I mean, I was saying, well, take his shoes and socks off, but I didn't want him to stink the whole place out. What would you recommend?
Yeah, no, it is about is getting the bare feet and just doing as much as you can. Obviously, wear safe in bare feet. Using shoes which haven't got massive heels. So you see, weightlifting shoes with the back of the heels like that, and the front's flat. It's shifting everyone sort of anteriorly.
Okay.
Which isn't helping. And then you've got things like some little therapy ball releases you can do under the feet as well.
Yes, that's right.
And grip in and release. We've got a drill where you're barefoot and you've got a long line of therapy band, and you just imagine the toes sort of on top of it, and the toes are just almost crawling the band into them, so pulling it in. So it's getting underneath working. So those sorts of things really. And then you can do some basic, if you've got something like an aero floor, do some basic running mechanics drills on there, so that the feet and ankles and all the sort of musculature around there, which usually doesn't get worked. And because they're in shoes all the time, it gets lazy, and you get the flat feet, then you're going to get them working.
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about this feet movement, you talk about the mechanics of landing. Ideally, when you land, where would you want to be landing? In the middle of the feet, on the arc of feet? Do you want to be landing on the toes, the balls of the feet, the heels?
Around about the balls of the feet, really.
Yeah.
If you think of sort of sprinting mechanics, you always want to be hitting the ball of the foot underneath the hip.
Yeah.
So it's sort of getting that pattern ingrained in the body over and over again. Yeah, if you land on just your toes and you feel yourself coming forward, or just your heels and you're rocking back, it's not great. So you want to be landing with good balance in that position we talked about near the start. So you've got the base of support is nice and big, center of mass is in the middle. Okay, obviously that's sort of if you're landed on both feet.
Would you say it's a disadvantage then, being flat-footed while sprinting?
To be honest, you can get a lot of things for sort of interventions to put in your shoes and stuff, but
Yeah.
if you're actually drilling to land on the ball of the foot, it shouldn't be that big a deal, really.
Okay, got another question here. I'm going to try and go through a bit quicker because they're just flooding in. So what's the best workouts for strengthening the tendons?
For tendons, that you're looking things like we talked about earlier, for skipping, for pogo hops, things like that. To deceleration work as well, so catch and react, that sort of stuff. And the eccentric work is fantastic for tendons.
Yeah.
You know, things like a good morning with a catch and react at the end, those sorts of things, working off the glute ham developer,
Yeah.
and dropping a weight and catching it again, doing that double leg, single leg, and just working the sort of end range.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so there's a youngster here who says he's lost a bit of pace due to lack of practice. Do you have any tips for a 16-year-old to regain his pace and further increase it? I'm guessing from a strength and conditioning point of view, not probably technical.
But yes, the same thing. I understand the specifics, understand what sort of bowler you are, understand what sort of athlete you are, in train to those areas. You know, I don't want to train against yourself if you're tendon driven and you're not looking at that and trying to help and support that, then you're not going to progress. You know, if you're a muscle dominant bowler and all you're doing is more strength, then you're not going to see any progression. So, you know, if you're muscle type, go over and do a bit more sort of jump and shot training, and then the opposite way as well. And remember, you're trying to be a quick bowler, not a gym goer.
Yeah, definitely. If someone has an injury and they go to a doctor who's not cricket educated or sports educated, can that be a challenge for a cricketer?
Yeah, 100%. Because then the doctor, like they should be, is just worried about your health. They're not worried about you trying to bowl 18, 19 mile an hour.
Exactly,
so they can do stuff which is just going to, right, this is going to get rid of your pain or anything like that, but it's not. They're not going to go, right, actually show me your bowling action, you know, what you like, what's your movements like, this sort of thing. So you need to understand, you know, you wouldn't come to me if you had a headache. You know what I mean? So
horses for courses.
yeah, exactly. Okay. Don't get annoyed with them if they don't go into it, because it's not their area. You know, they're trying to save your life, not be a bloke like me who's trying to get you quicker.
Yeah, I think what the guy who's asking the question is saying is that maybe you could be living in a remote part of the world where you probably don't have access to a physio or a cricket strength and conditioning coach or somebody who has knowledge in sports, and probably be like a local village doctor or something. So I think that's probably coming from there. Well, more reason to join in a circle then. Around the world.
You know, if you've got the internet these days, there's no you know, there's everything's everywhere. You could get everything for free somewhere. But I tell you, one of the most annoying things I get on social media is someone come on and they just ask a question. They'll say, "Sir, give me tips for fast bowling," and that'll be it. And you think, well, have you even actually read through any of the more, you know, the hundreds they're out there for free if you signed up for the free newsletter, which goes out 3 times a week. You know, if you looked at all Steph's stuff, you looked at his articles, and if you don't understand something, there's an amazing thing called Google. You know, my message back to someone yesterday was, "What am I, Google?" Because they asked me about five questions, and by the 5th one, I was like, "Oh, come on, mate." So, me, I've got to a stage in my life where I don't want to work with people who are lazy. Because if they're lazy, I've got a 3-question rule. So someone's after one of our programs and they've asked more than 3 questions. I said my 4th response is, "This isn't for you." Wow. Because what we know is that those people will then get on a program and not do it. They'll find every excuse under the sun. I can't do this. I can't listen. But what I want is someone who comes on, and if there's a exercise with an aqua bag, so I've not got an aqua bag, but I can use this. So they find a solution rather than the problem. And so much, everyone wants the magic pill. So they'll ask the question, what's the best workout? What's the best exercise? There's no best exercise. There's no best exercise for anyone.
That's right.
There's the whole tool bag of stuff, which you go in and you pick out. But there's no best exercise. So anyone who's asked a best exercise question is not getting answered. Okay? Do the work. Don't be lazy.
Exactly.
Have a little look. Go through some posts.
Don't
just sit there and think, right, one of these two is going to give me the best exercise and I'm going to be bowling like Shoaib next week. It's not going to work. It's down to you to actually work and not be lazy.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of how I get some guys who come to me and they say to me, I want to bowl like Shoaib Akhtar or, Brett Lee. And I say, well, do you train like Shoaib Akhtar? Have you got the same drive and passion like Shoaib Akhtar? But I said, just because you come in, you've got the same haircut as him and you're dressing in the same tight t-shirts as him, you're not going to be quicker. So I do get some funny ones coming in like that. But yeah, I think it's key. You're right. I think I know I do get that occasionally where I get people just messaging me from different parts of the world. And literally, they just want you to give them the answers that they want to hear. And if it's anything to do with working hard for it, they're just not interested. It's like, you know what, I was happy doing what I was doing.
The best exercise question is just probably one of them. So yeah, not answering them.
Okay then, right then. Okay, so
five now. Boom.
Exactly. Okay, so are there any exercises for improving the strength of the ankle and reducing Achilles stiffness? So could you give me some examples?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look into exactly what the ankle's doing. You don't want to reduce some stiffness in one part of it, which is going to help with things like ground reaction forces, ground reaction time, and back foot contact.
Yep.
But if your ankle's not moving, you need to understand why it's not moving. By the same token.
Yeah.
Basically, if you do a knee to wall test, what you want to find is that you can do it from 10 centimeters away from the wall, and then your knee still hits the wall with your ankle on the floor.
Yeah.
But a very simple one to discover where the issue could be is do it standing up, so the hips are forward, and then do it half kneeling, so you take the hips out of it. And then if one of them you can do it and one of them you can't, that gives you a clue where the issue is.
Definitely.
If you can do it in a half kneeling, but you can't do it stood, then you think, right, the ankle's not the issue. The ankle can move. So then you go and find out what's going on. But for some drills for the ankle, I quite like some light traction work. Again, skipping's fantastic. We do stuff called plantar walks. So lots of stuff. And again, out with shoes. Get out of the habit of being in shoes.
That's right.
And one of the worst things to be in is flip-flops. The flip-flops are killing feet and ankles.
They are, definitely. I agree.
You see people in them all the time, and I want to burn them. But get out of them. And again, look around. Is it the ankle? What is the actual issue going on?
Okay. What exercise would you recommend for lower body explosiveness?
Jumping. But you need to learn how to sort of decelerate the jump and land before you can actually use the stretch shortening cycle, and then the pace of the jumps. So again, we go back to skipping. Skipping's such a fantastic drill because it covers so many bases. It's self-regulating, so if something's going on, you will be able to skip. The rope will keep stopping and things like that. So it's such a great sort of exercise to prep. It preps the really quick ground contact time as well. Because you see a lot of jumping where it's slow ground contact time where we want to be bang, 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 all the time. So with the jumps and getting specific is where the power is, and obviously in the medi balls as well, things like that.
Excellent. Okay. So the guy who asked the question regarding his neck and his trap issues, he said he started to work out to strengthen the muscles around the traps and the shoulders, and they also included neck rotation. Is there anything more I can do? Because he's a goalkeeper as well.
So it sounds like he's just heading the strength route, but you've got to work mobility.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that.
Sure
use the bands, the pal-offs. Hey, get in there.
Is your trunk stable and strong? Is it allowing the movement in thoracic? And are you moving the thoracic as part of the whole chain as well? But make sure you're not just doing strength.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's going to be a block and you can't move anywhere.
They're the ones who pick up the heavy weights. That's what it is. For a fast bowler, how much overhead press should you do? Is there anything that you should do overhead?
I mean, you've got to work overhead because that's where you're going to live a lot of the time. But it's the overhead while pressing is the thing we got to watch. Like I said, I love the kettlebell up. I love using the landmine. And
you've got the baseball bat, haven't you? The one that used the baseball bat for that functional movement, isn't it?
You've got the bat for again the interplay between the thoracic and the shoulders and everything like that. I like using the TRX for what we call a scapular fallout. So if you imagine you're sort of almost in a plank position, but there with the TRX, and you're working up and down, and it's great for the serratus and the throw muscles too. So yeah, you got to work overhead and many balls as well, reactive catching, hip hinging, stuff like that. But just you don't need to do an Arnold press. You don't need to do a barbell press. Things like that. It's just crazy.
I think this is probably slightly off topic, but someone's asking, how do you prepare mentally before a game, and how long before a game do you start preparing?
I guess I mean the players. I can't even sit in the dugouts for a 2020. I've got to go right out the way. The final day, I was well away from the lads because I struggle with my emotions.
Really? Oh, you guys did amazing that day anyway. It was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the players are all different. You've got some that need to be G'd up, some that need to calm down.
True, yeah.
Want to be left alone, some that feed off the pack. So everyone's different, and that's where good sports psych. We got a lady called Camilla Henderson, who's really good, and she helps the boys with their routines. So it's about for them getting the routine, which helps. And Steph does a neurotyping as well.
He does indeed, yeah,
which helps you understand sort of personality. Are you dopamine types, or do you need the buzz, or do you need to be calmed down, things like that. So just like understanding the body, you got to understand your own mind. For me, I would need noise, and I'd need but my own noise, not someone else's chatter.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously work with Mohsin Ali, you work with Ashwin, you work with Andre Russell, you work with some of the greatest cricketers out there. What's so different about them then? How do you think they go about their business? I mean, Mohsin Ali, I'll probably say closer to home to you because you've worked with him for many years. How does he do it? How does he prepare himself?
Well, I worked with him in as much as he's been in Worcester, but the amount of work I've done is not a lot really with Mo, because he's just the biggest thing that Mo did was really up his practice in his game.
Right.
Over one winter, and in the following summer, he was just batting all the time.
Really?
He was getting in people's ears, asking them about his game. So that was for him. His game and understanding his bowling and everything like that. So it wasn't a physical thing at all. The gym's not his thing; it's his game. And he's an England cricketer. He's one of the best sort of off-spinning batters in the world.
That's right.
It's fantastic. So he's found what works for him, which is brilliant. And the other guys, they all know what they have to do. That's a big thing. You see, I remember it's going back a while now. When I was at Northants, we had Lance Klusner, who was unbelievable. Zulu. Yeah, the big Zulu. And he would, I used to take the mitt back then for the bowlers before I broke my fingers. And some bowlers who would get uptight and they need to bowl through for half an hour.
Really?
He'd do his prep, get a ball. And the first ball came out right. If it came out right, he'd say, Juicy, done.
Wow.
Happy days you got. Because you know what they need to do. And a lot of the time with these big guys, they know what they need to do. And so you just say to them, what I say to them, listen, mate, let me know how I can help you best for yourself. I don't go like a bull and china shop. Right, I need to do this, and this, because I know what I'm doing, all this crap.
Yeah.
You let them do what they need to do and just try and help them. Because like I said, these guys are international. They're amazing players.
That's right.
And sometimes for me, I step back and I watch that. Right, is there anything I can pick up here, which I can then help another player with? Yeah. But self-belief and understanding their game are two of the things which you see pretty common traits with a lot of these players.
Yeah, I mean, I remember speaking to Steph when he was out in Dubai when he came out to do a camp with me, and he mentioned about Jofra Archer, and he said it was quite funny because with Jofra, he knew that he didn't have to be going out doing these med ball slams. He knew he had to do any rotational work. He just said, Steph said, I laid out all these nice little pieces of equipment on match days in the IPL, and Jofra would come along, he'd pick up the medicine ball, he'd just look at it, put it back down, and he'd be like, that's my warm-up done. And he said it was just amazing because you know what, he knew what his body needed and what it didn't need. So he said he was just so more into just being able to understand, like you said quite rightly, as his preparation, and he felt comfortable, just like Zulu coming in, ball on one good ball, be like, right, that's enough for me, I'm ready to go. And you're right, and on the other extreme, you've got somebody who wants to bowl for a good half an hour, trying to hit that area, and when it comes to the match, he's going to end up bowling wise anyway. Which is
I think it's then. And with sort of youngsters who you sort of try and help a little bit more to make sure they're not burning themselves out in a warm-up and doing too much. Yeah. You try to help them from that way and just making sure that they're ready to peak for the game rather than peaking at 10 o'clock when you've got an
Exactly.
hour to start playing.
Well, I know I haven't got much time left. Probably got another 5-10 minutes. So I'm going to, very quickly run through the questions because these questions come in through so thick and fast, which obviously means that everyone's looking to learn today. So just moving on to the next question quickly is a 4-hour workout good enough for a wicket-keeping batsman? And what exercise should a batsman not do?
Don't, for me, don't look at the time.
Yeah.
Unless it's sort of
Yeah.
an hour and a half, it's much too long. Look at the content of a session because you can get an amazing done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So as long as it's purposeful, it's specific,
Yeah.
it's either going to not hurt you or enhance your game,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter really how long it takes. But like I said, don't go much past an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half pushing it.
Definitely. If you've had an injury due to lateral movement of the torso at point of delivery, and you want to try and recover, what are the best recovery exercises? And ideally, how much time should you take off to heal the back and try working on your action? It's not a stress fracture, but deep tissue rupture.
Okay, yeah, that would be concerning. Almost as concerning as a stress fracture. Something bad's going on there.
Yeah.
To rupture the tissue like that is quite alarming because obviously the bone normally goes first. So there's quite a bit of trauma going on there. For me, mate, I'd take yourself back to looking at a baby stroke toddler in what they do.
Yeah.
And basically they start on the floor and they learn to first get their head moving, so the deep neck muscles, then they learn to roll from the front to the back, from the back to the front.
Yeah.
So what we do now with back injuries, we take them back to the floor, and can you roll like a nice roll from your back to your front using your arms and then using your legs is the initial leverage. And what you see a lot of the time, we've lost that pattern, that basic pattern.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So a position from the floor to just getting yourself up onto all fours, to tall kneeling, to half kneeling, to stood. I think if you go back and look through all those patterns, you'll find a hole somewhere. So then you refill that hole, you get the motor patterns reset, and then you work on basic movements and specificity. So those are the things I would do because something is breaking down badly. So get yourself some.
What would be the best way to do enhanced body strength, and is running the best for the lower body?
Is what the best running?
Yeah, is running the best exercise for the lower body?
You can learn how to run and to learn efficiently and well, so you're not expending energy, and then look into what's going to help that. So again, we're going to have things like jumping, skipping, maybe some eccentric deadlifts, some RDLs, things like that, single leg arabesque, those sorts of things. Again, there's no best exercise, but it's a combination of things to make sure the body works well.
Okay, and how to reduce the body fat? I didn't stop eating fat, but
80% diet. It is 80%. Obviously, it's probably a bit tougher when it's been in lockdown and you're bored and you can't get out as much. But it's 80% what you put in your mouth. People, you see them, and it drives me mad when I see, big people out running because I know they're going to be in pain. And, pain within a week, they're probably going to have to stop. Whereas if you look at nutrition first, always going to be a winner, and long-term as well. Not any crazy diets or anything like that. Just simple things, making sure you understand what you need, because what I need is going to be different to what you need. Exactly. It could be different, a player, different body types, different metabolism, that sort of thing. So again, don't try a celebrity diet and all this sort of rubbish. Just understand what you need, how you need to change it after a hard day's play or hard training or day off, because obviously on a day off you don't need as many calories as you do, if you're bowling 20 overs, 30 overs in a day, stuff like that. So nutrition, 80%.
Very true. What are your top 3 exercises to improve chain sequencing for A, seam bowlers, and B, batsmen?
To improve your sequencing, it's almost about going through it. It's starting with the lower body, making sure you work that front foot. So as soon as the front foot contacts, you're working, getting up and getting a hip turn, that hip pre-turn. So anything that can almost replicate that, whether you're doing it with a mediball in your hand at chest height, a mediball above head, if you're a batter, and you're holding on to a band, just working that hip pre-turn is the sort of the initial part of the whole sequence. And if you can do it barefoot, all the better.
Okay, what's the best exercise to strengthen your hands or your fingers for a leg spinner?
I'll let you off with this one, whoever that was, because they obviously didn't hear earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
30 ball in the hands, squeeze, and then you can get a mesh in when you come out, and just isometric holds 5 seconds there. And what that also does, it's great for the forearm, and if the forearm's healthy, elbow's healthy.
Guys, last question now, because we've taken up his valuable time and he's going to be off somewhere helping someone else as well. So last question is, how many days should a fast bowler run long distance for training purposes, or should he focus more on long distance or just sprints?
Again, it's different. You know, the fast bowling is very unique because it's almost anaerobic within aerobic. Because, you know, if you're playing all day, we want you to be running at 6 p.m. the same as you were at 11.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the start of, say, if we're in the off season, for us that's October till March. In end of October, sort of November, they might do two runs of over 20 meters, 20 minutes. So that'll be a 5K or maybe a 10K. They might do that twice a week. Then when we get more towards the season, it's going to be more sort of a strongman and anaerobic based, but we might still put in like a nice easy run. So we're not going at, you know, full 2K flat out pace, but maybe just a nice easy 20-minute aerobic run, something like that. So again, it depends on the player a lot, but you don't want to be just doing aerobic or just doing sprint, because fast bowling in cricket needs a bit of both. I know, again, that's what Steffi did a lot of GPS analysis when he was over at the IPL, and a lot of the stuff came back in the sort of the low aerobic zone was where they were in about 80%. So, you know, it's good to get training in that zone, but again, remember, we want to be specific. So twice a week, probably tops.
Excellent. Well, Ross, I'm so thankful for your time, and you've obviously educated us, and you've obviously, you know, shared some insights. And now give us an idea of where we can get more information and where we can actually spend a little bit more time with you.
So what we've got is obviously Cricket Strength on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then we have a thing called the Inner Circle where people join up, and it houses all our programs. You have access to us. We do a live Q&A once a month. We drop a program once a month. There's Steph's got a Pace Lab Academy in there, so once a month he puts a seminar on, and then we have an exclusive interview. So that's probably the easiest option. That's only £10 a month, and then we've got virtual coach where you get a more one-to-one or the whole 6-month one-to-one program. So yeah, just go to cricketstrength.com and you can find pretty much everything there.
Yeah, and I think just for the UAE listeners, that £10 works around about 46 dirhams a month, which is fantastic, isn't it? It's just like somebody going out for breakfast in the morning, you know, just, you know, so I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, what you can learn. I've been a member for many years, and, you know, it's really helped me and, you know, enhanced my skills as well. We're looking forward to having you back soon anyway. So when can we have you back? Apart from October, which you're coming to Dubai anyway, aren't you? So obviously we'll be happy to have you here in October doing a camp with me as well, which I'm sure a lot of people have been signing up for already. But with regards to an online call, because I've had so many questions, I've not been able to get through them, unfortunately. So yeah, when would be the next time we can try and catch up with you?
Maybe also we're in July, June. Where are we? No, June now, aren't we? Yeah, maybe July. Let's fix one up for July.
July? Okay. Well, I'll be on the blow with you anyway. But listen, thank you so much, and have a safe journey, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Take care. Stay well, guys.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.